Good day to everybody. As we move in this next journey in this curriculum, in this course, we will talk about emerging risks today. But let me start off by giving a very brief introduction of myself. I am Prantik Mitra. I have been in the insurance industry for almost 32 years now. I have worked both in the public sector insurance industry as well as the private sector insurance industry. Now working with Alliance Insurance Brokers. I have been a risk engineer and a risk manager, and I've handled various portfolios across in the insurance industry. Today, I will talk about emerging risks. But before we do that, let us quickly, for maybe 3-4 minutes, look at what risks are. Though I am sure you must have, already heard about it. But we'll do a quick recap and then connect it to emerging risks. So we are surrounded by risks, and most of the time we are managing it either subconsciously or consciously. And when we move it to the enterprise level, the organization level, then comes an entire process of risk management. So then we talk of maps and charts and models and analysis of risk, frequency of risks, impact of risk, velocity of risk, and so on. But we start with a very crude example, and then we will develop it. As I said, there is a risk everywhere. Some we manage subconsciously, some we manage. When you turn off the gas burner after cooking, you are probably managing the risk consciously. But let us take an example. Let us assume, say, Dr. Rakesh wants to go out to the ATM to withdraw money. Now, the ATM, let's also assume, is a 750-meter distance from his house. So he decides to walk. He feels it's not worth, pulling out the car from the garage, going such a short distance. So it is preferable that he decides to walk to withdraw money. So while he comes out of the house, he observes it is very cloudy and he feels it might rain. So he is now faced with a situation of a risk. There are various things that he can do. He can decide to still walk down to the ATM to withdraw money, because it could rain or it could not rain. So therefore, there is an uncertainty, and that uncertainty is the very element of every risk. So he could walk down to the ATM, it may not rain, and he comes back. He could walk down to the ATM and it could rain, in which case this was a risk he was wanting to avoid. He would have a problem. He has other alternatives as well. He can decide to carry an umbrella, in which case he is probably mitigating the risk or reducing the risk. Again, it may rain, it may not rain. If it rains, the umbrella will help. If it does not rain, let us call it that the investment in the umbrella was not required at this point in time. It may be required in the future. Also, if it rains and rains very heavily, along with very strong winds, the umbrella may not be enough to protect you. So this is a risk mitigation of a particular level, and it may not help to counter a risk of a very high impact. There is another thing that he can do. He may decide not to go to the ATM at all at that point in time. He may decide to go to the ATM the next day, after 3 hours, after 4 hours, whatever. He may decide to go later, in which case he is trying to avoid the risk. Now, in all this, there is uncertainty because it may rain, it may not rain. Uncertainty is at the heart of every risk. So this is a very basic, a very simple concept of risk management, of risks. And as I said, there are risks everywhere. We are subconsciously managing it, sometimes consciously managing it. And when we go to an enterprise level, we are managing it through various processes. Now you can also see that this process is very dynamic because the nature of the risk, the frequency of the risk, the impact of the risk can all change. So your risk management processes will have to then change accordingly. Having said that, having brought in the concept of uncertainty as the very important element of a risk, we will now move on to see what are emerging risks. Why emerging risk is a very important topic today. What are their characteristics? So today what we will look at is what are emerging risks. So we'll try and build a definition of emerging risks, what they are. We will come to methods of identifying the emerging risks. Of course, sometime later we will talk about the role of mindset in risk assessment, but that's really very important. We'll talk about scanning the horizon. Later we will go on to talk about COVID-19 as an emerging risk. And of course, I think by now everybody would know that COVID-19 really has been an emerging risk. Also later we will talk about the 2000 economic crisis and what were the failures in spotting the crisis. And of course, that too was an emerging risk. Let us now look at what emerging risks are. From the very term, we can understand that it is something which is emerging. So it is something which is likely to come in future. But then why do we call it a different class altogether? There is a reason behind it. And there are various definitions of emerging risks, and everybody can look it up through various books and references or through Google searches. There are two aspects to emerging risks. One, these are risks which may develop. What does that mean? The risk is not developed today, or it is not there today. It might develop some time in the future. So there is a futuristic element to it. It can also be a risk which exists. So it is known. We know about this risk which exists, but we are not able to quantify it. What does that mean? When we say that the risk exists, but we are not able to quantify it, the perfect example of such a thing has been the COVID-19. The existence of a pandemic is something which was not unknown. What was probably unknown was this type of a pandemic or this strain of the virus. But even when it got known quite some time ago, till date, it has been difficult to exactly quantify it. Another aspect of the emerging risks are they have a very high loss potential. So emerging risks are those which are difficult to quantify. So we will not really be able to put an assessment value and impact value to them very easily. They may at best be various models which would predict or quantify them to some extent. And of course, they will have a very high loss potential. If you think for some time, if you think of the emerging risks that you have seen in the past, that we have seen in the past, one can easily talk about 2611 Twin Tower collapse. We all know what an impact it had. We all know that it was not envisaged in that form. We all know that it existed, which means a terrorism threat existed, but we were not able to quantify it. And obviously, we know of the high loss potential it has had. Not just the physical damage value to the two buildings, it has had a much, much larger impact in terms of lives, in terms of the society, in terms of so many things in the country, outside the country, in fact, globally. So emerging risks, as we said earlier, at the heart of every risk is uncertainty. So we are not certain, but emerging risks are marked with a very high degree of uncertainty. And that is what makes the emerging risks so challenging. That is what makes them so difficult to assess and quantify, manage, and control. And that is because many a times, even the very basic information which is required to assess a risk or analyze a risk would be missing in terms of the emerging risk. If you go back again to 2611, did we have the basic information that aircrafts could be used to collide on a building? Did we think of the information that an aircraft which collided on a building and exploded along with its fuel tanks could melt an entire structure? Definitely not. Therefore, this sort of a basic information was not available. That is another characteristic of emerging risk. So various practitioners, various risk management experts have defined emerging risks in various ways. Another thought is that these are risks that are known to a certain degree. That means they are not fully known. You're probably aware of its existence, but you feel that it is probably will not materialize or it will not have impact for several years. So what we are saying is that they are known to some degree, but they are not likely to materialize or have an impact for several years. And when you think so, when you define it so, obviously the entire risk management process also tends to follow the same thought process. Let's talk of the ozone layer. There is a feeling, of course, now we have gone to various topics of the climatic change, the Montreal Protocol, the meetings of heads of states, and so on. But then the impact of this is being considered to materialize over several years. So that's an emerging risk as well. It fits the criteria of emerging risks. We have already said that these are risks which are difficult to quantify. Now we know there are various risk models that one uses. One can use statistical models, one can use financial models, one can develop models through various sorts of information, risk management groups, experts, and so on. There are risks which are difficult to quantify and they have far-reaching impacts. So when we say far-reaching impacts, the impact is widespread. It is not restricted maybe to a particular place or a particular organization or a particular country. This can have far-reaching impacts on the industry as a whole, on the society as a whole, on the culture as a whole. Another characteristic of emerging risk is that the background knowledge about such risks is weak. That is what makes it very dangerous. You may have some parallels from the past. You may be able to link it to something in the future, but the background knowledge, perhaps we cannot say it will always be non existent, but it is definitely. And that is why emerging risks present a different type of challenge. So, what we have done now is probably we have said risks, we have said uncertainty is the core of risks, is the heart of risk. That is what makes it a risk. Then we have seen what emerging risks are, and we have seen that these are those which have a much higher degree of uncertainty. Let us now look at a very simple graph. It's basically a two-dimensional graph. On the x-axis, on the base, we have the time. On the y-axis, we have the quantity. This is a plotting of the emerging risk, basically defining its progress and its characteristics. Now, if you look at the convergent of the two axes, that's where you see the sort of cloud-shaped thing on the screen. That's the emerging risk. Why is it not a point? Why is it like a cloud-shaped figure? That is because in case of emerging risks, there is generally a lack of understanding of the precise point of emergence. We cannot find one point in time for its emergence. You can draw the parallel from COVID-19. We say Hubei province, we say Wuhan, we might say the meat market of China, but that one point in time from where it emerged is not known. You could drill down to a particular level, but you will probably not reach that one point in time to which we can link it. That's another characteristic of emerging risks. Again, because of the various reasons we talked of, because of the very nature of emerging risks, there is lack of quality information on the risk. And whenever we talk emerging risks, you can in your mind keep thinking of COVID-19. You will see how it keeps fitting into whatever we talk about emerging risks. So when we say there is lack of good quality information, there is information, but it is not of good quality. It may not be of reliable quality. It may not be of a quality on which various decisions can be based. Maybe some decisions can be based. Now, when you have a risk which gives you some information, but the quality of information is not good, what happens? A lot of misinformation about it spreads. So various people come in, various experts come in, various institutes come in, and they develop models around the information that you have. And through these various models, various perceptions of the risks keep coming out. And this also leads to misinformation of the risk. That is the starting phase of an emerging risk. So you don't have a point of start, you have very little information, and you have lots of misinformation. And that makes the understanding of the risk, the analysis of the risk, even more difficult. Also, in the beginning, there are small signals of this risk. And it is through the signals that you pick up that something is about to happen. There is a risk that is emerging. These signals could be weak, but they gradually potentially become bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, as we move on the graph and we see time versus the quantity, now the risk has emerged, information with no clear point of start time, lots lots of misinformation, a bit of weak information, and the risk is now moving. It has a velocity, it has a speed of movement. And as it moves, more and more information about the risk starts coming in. So, therefore, the quality of the information improves. And as we go on and the risk starts getting analyzed further, it moves further, its impact is known further, the quality of the information improves. We then have good quality of information depending on the time frame and depending on the nature of the risk. Also, emerging risk, its impact also keeps growing. Again, example of COVID-19. As the risk grows further, various methods do keep coming up to tackle the risks. There is maturity of information, there is maturity in the risk management process, scenarios get developed better, and in many cases, various regulatory frameworks and legal frameworks also come up. Because with the emergence of the risk, one might realize, whether it's an institution or a country, and since it's generally widespread, that to manage such risk in future, you might need some sort of a regulatory framework. You might need some sort of laws. Again, a very, very interesting example was of the Bhopal gas tragedy. Following the Bhopal gas tragedy, various legislations came up. And one of the most interesting legislations following the Bhopal gas tragedy has been the Public Liability Act, where a minimum amount of insurance for a particular limit was made mandatory for certain industries who were handling a certain volume of hazardous chemicals. It's all defined in the Act. So, the regulatory framework also comes in at some point of time. So that's how is a journey of emerging risk. If I may repeat, just for the sake of clarity, emerging risks, you can't find a starting point. You start with lack of information, poor quality information, lots of misinformation. You start with some early signals of the risk, and then with the lack of information, with the misinformation, with the limited knowledge about the risk, you're starting to fight the risk, starting to might the risk, develop processes around the risk. As you gradually move forward, you get more and more information, so the risk models start developing. And many a times, as I said, various legislations, regulatory frameworks, rules, laws, conventions, codes start coming in, so that in the future there is a defined process of tackling this emerging risk or a similar emerging risk.